So good evening. It's a pleasure to be here this second night where we are going to continue what we started last night. And for those who haven't been here last night, I want to give a short resume from what we have learned and then go on from that. I shared last night that there is something that we are missing in medicine. We are missing that we do not know the cause of disease. We have the disease, we have treatments for it, but we cannot find out the cause. In most cases, about 90% of all diseases that we have today, the cause is unknown. Even though we have to do with the human being, which on the physical level is so absolute that we should have figured it out for long how it works. So the law is given to us so that we understand the conditions of life, and we as humans have a responsibility to fulfill those conditions, and if the conditions are fulfilled, we have a normal function and we would have health. For me as a medical doctor, I discovered only in my practice that there is a condition for life so that we can be healthy physically, and that's the spiritual part, that is love. And it took me 2.5 years to be sure that love is a condition for physical health, and that thoughts are important. The second thing that I came to understand is that love or thoughts are the governing element in the human functioning of the body. And so I asked myself, how is this working? How can it be that thoughts have such a great effect on the body to make him sick? Since in my practice, I came to understand that most of my patients were sick because of their thoughts. And is there anyone who wants to destroy himself? Is there anyone who wants to make himself sick through his own thoughts? No. It is something in the human being that brings him to that point that is unconscious to him. And we will see that when we know a little bit more about the way we are built. So, if the human body is a union of trillions of factories, of chemical factories that are the cells, and if all of those cells need the same needs, that is, they need a raw material, they need chemistry to work so that they can produce a product that is needed for another part of for another factory. So we must have the construction of our body must have these two main elements, the one that distributes the chemistry and the one that distributes the power. So we want to know now how that's gone. I had this here from last night. I didn't see I finished this question. Does the damage come from the energy or power? And here we have 9 50% of our diseases. So let us look to the human being and its construction to see how we have these two elements. We have here the raw material, and we have the energy, and we saw that the raw materials are oxygen, water, food, warmth, 98.6, yes. Sleep, and sunshine. Those are the things that we need to live from the physical part. And then we saw that love is a spiritual information and is transmitted by thoughts. So let's ask ourselves, is there any chemical definition of love? Can we define love by chemistry? We can never define love by chemistry. That's why it's so hard to put love into health, because it's not chemistry. But still, if love is the power for life, then we have to know how it gets to the point where it needs to come. That's why if all these are the basic needs, they must be administrated somehow. So there must be ways of administration. So they need to come, or they need to be given to every part of the body. And we have two elements in us that basically the one brings the chemistry and the other one brings the power. So which brings the chemistry to each cell? Which is the transporting system that takes the chemistry and brings it to the cell? It's the blood. So the blood is here. And of course, we need organs that bring those things into the blood. So the oxygen comes into the blood by the lungs. Then the water and the food comes into the blood by the stomach and intestine. Only when it's in the blood it is transported. Worms come through the skin, but it goes through the blood circulation. Sleep is in the brain. It's something special. We won't go into that. The sunshine comes to the eyes and governs our circadian rhythm so that we have the light. But basically, we have the blood that brings all the chemistry everywhere. Yes? To every part of the body. But through what comes the power to every part of the body? What is the transporting system of the power that comes into the body? Because we say that love and these thoughts are making the power, but by what are they transmitted to the body? So how does your foot get his power? By what? Well, yes, but how? Through the nerves. So we have how many nerves in our body? How many wires? We have a lot of wires that all starts in the brain, the cortex. We will see where they start, but it's important to know that all the power go through the nerves everywhere into the body. That's why we have these two systems. Everywhere you cut off the body, you will find blood vessels and nerves. The one transmits the chemistry that every cell needs, and the other transmits the power that commands the cell what to do, when to do. So these are the two things we have to understand. The one is the sustaining element, that's the physical element, and the other is the power element that gives the command what to do and how much and when. Because you must understand, if you can imagine, that we have the liver, we have the kidney, we have the pancreas, we have all these organs. Do you think they just govern themselves? Is there a need that someone should govern them all so that they should function in the same direction all? Or do you think the heart beats like it wants and the liver makes when it wants what it wants? Of course not. So they must be governed. There must be a balance continually in the human being. And that balance cannot be done by chemistry. We can add and take away from the chemistry, because in the end, the chemistry is there, that is, but the balance of it is made through the nerves. We can see this easily when you are in front of an examination and you have anxiety. What happens to your digestive organs? Yes? So you feel something, because who does that feeling? It goes through the nerves, yes? But it's transmitted through the nerves to every part of the body. So the nerves are the transmitting part of the power. They are the wires. And they go everywhere, so that power is everywhere. It's like the light. If you have no wires, can you put a lamp there and say, oh, shine? It's not possible. So, but the question is now, who puts the nerve into action? Who gives him the power to function? Because can the nerve do that by himself? No. So let us then see where the power starts, and it would be also interesting. Do you know where the blood vessels start? So where would you see is the center where everything comes and everything goes away from the blood vessels? It's the heart. Yes? That's why the heart, so to the heart comes the blood, and from there it is put into the whole system. Yes? So the center of the circulation of the chemistry is the heart. And now we have to see the center of the power system. And that's also the heart. But it's not the physical heart. We will see it's the spiritual heart that we have to look up into our head. So the power system then starts in the brain. And in the brain, we must know that every nerve starts in the cortex. Yes, it's so important to understand. Here we have about 30 billions of cells in each side, so about 60 billions of nervous cells. And they all have a cord or a wire. I call it a cable. And those cables go into the body, transmitting the command that was given up here in the cortex to the whole system. So here is the power element. Here starts. And what is the power in the human being for the nerve? What is the power in the human being for the nerve? Well, the thoughts, they make it, as we will see. But what's the power for the nerve? What runs through your nerve? What kind of power?
Electricity.
It's electricity, yes? So electricity, look at this, that's the power. It starts from here. So everything goes through the electricity inside the body. That's why the nerves are all isolated, so that they can transmit, so that you don't move all of your fingers, you just move one finger, so that it can all be governed accordingly. The whole human being is in the cortex. So everything that is governed in your life, in your body, starts here. And the most interesting thing, or one of the interesting things, is that the human being starts in two. That is, the two parts have no connection to each other when they start. Only in the center of the brain, they're starting to get some connections and some, but basically when they come into the center, they just switch sides, and so the human being becomes one. By switching the sides, they grow together. But in the end, the human being is governed by two, what should I say, two brain parts. They are separated. That's why we have the one-sided diseases. That's why you get only in the pituitary gland on the right side your tumor and not on the other side. Because we start as, so to say, double elements. And only here there are some connections and lower than, but still the left hand is governed from the right side and the other side the other way. So in the limbic system, here we have, this is the limbic system. Here we have chemistry. Here we have hormone production. We have different parts, and according to the electricity that comes down here, we produce the endorphins, the good feelings. From here, all the feelings come. The emotions, all the emotions are done here. And the feelings. So in those, they are also similar. Yes, they're double, so to say. We have the production of those. So the body functions by electricity and by chemistry. And it starts with electricity, and at the end, it becomes chemistry. So this is the place where we have to look to. So I came to understand that the human being lives in a place that I would put here. This is the place where life is going on. Everything starts from here and goes into the body, and everything from the body comes up here. It's the same thing like the blood to the heart. Yes, it comes to the heart and goes from the heart, and the place of everything that happens in our lives come here. Here we feel the feelings. They are made here, but all the feelings we feel up here. And where do we have our thoughts, our reasoning, our decisions? Where are they? They are here up in, here are our thoughts. So this is the place I call where life is going on. Because here we meet feelings, emotions, and thoughts. Everything is decided at this place. So this place is then the most important place. You see, I have patients that come to me because they have a congested nose. They cannot breathe well during the night usually, because in the night when we lay down, there is a changed situation by laying down, and so their nose is congested, they don't get enough air. And many people have this kind of symptoms, and they go to the doctor, and then the doctor finds that the nose is not just straight, you know, the septum is there's hardly one person has a straight nose. Have you seen any straight noses? But if you look inside, you might see that no septum is straight. And of course, the people go, and then the doctor sees into the nose, and he gives the solution: let's do a surgery, because we can make the hole a little bit bigger so that more air can go through. But these kind of surgeries that we do in the nose are the most ineffective. It's about 95% of all these surgeries do not bring relief to the patients except for a short while. And I have done many of these surgeries when I was in the hospital. And just recently I had a lady coming to me, and she had the third surgery on her nose for this reason. They once cut the turbines, and then they cut the septum, and now he cut again the turbinates. And so my question is, who governs the nose? If you have a nose dysfunction, where should you look to fix it? If you would be a good mechanic, knowing the structure where all things starts, where would you look? You would look up here. So this is, sometimes I say to my patient, I said, the surgery should have been done a little bit more higher. because that's the place where you can fix the problems. Because in the nose, you just see a result. You don't see in the nose the actual function. Of course, with spray, with certain chemicals, you can decongest the nose, because the function of the nose is governed through chemistry at the end of the chain. But it starts through the input of the thoughts that comes from your cortex. So if we have a problem in our knee, and we have an arthrosis or arthritis, where should we look to fix the problem? We should look where the thing starts from. Because if we don't look where the things start from, we cannot fix the things never. We will always just deal with symptoms, we will always try to remove at a certain place something, but we have not understood where the thing starts. And this is amazing, because it is known that everything starts from your cortex. So that's why we have to understand, when I have my patients before me, yes, I might relieve him some symptoms that he has down there in his body, doesn't matter where, but I have to know, I have to go to the center where the things are starting from. And if I don't go there, and I explain the patients there, then he has no real final help. In the end, the destruction will happen in his own body. So this was my understanding that I got to understand in my practice. And the question now is, who governs the cortex? Who is here that thinketh? Who is here that brings everything into the right function or not right function? So I had to ask myself, where do our thoughts come, and where do the feelings come? You see, I'm always searching to find the root of everything. Because if you have the root of everything, you can just know everything. But yeah, I was never interested to number the leaves on a tree. Have you? Yeah, but we have to be interested how that grows. We have to know where does it start from, where is the root of all of it. So let's look, where do thoughts come and where do feelings come from? And I gave you a simple example. We have the feeling of hunger. Do we? Sometimes, or tiredness, hunger. So, when you feel hunger, what is that for an information? Is that an information that everything is fine or something is missing? It is missing food. Food is raw material, is chemistry. Who needs chemistry? The body needs chemistry. So the cells, they transmit through feelings their need. The question is, who listens or who perceives the need? So, who feels the hunger? Is it a cell that feels the hunger, or is it not a cell that feels the hunger? Now we have to go into a little bit, that's why I call my lectures the law of life. And I would ask you, how much can an atom feel? So when I ask the question at an atom, can this pen feel anything? No. Do we have some plants here? Ah, there are plants, yes. So can they feel if I touch them? Can the plants feel? Well, they have life, but to be alive does not mean to feel anything. So you see, sometimes we have never put us this question. Have you put ever your question, this, who feels? Because some people come and say, well, the plants feel. And I say, okay, if they feel, then it must hurt when you eat your salad. Yes? It never hurts the apple when you bite from him. It never hurts even when you cut a tree down. Because he has no elements to feel anything. He perceives and he reacts. But feeling is just in the animal and human persons. Why? What is more in the human and in the animal that is missing in the plant? Even though both are alive. Well, the brain, if we look to nature, we will find a brain even at the root of a tree. We will find vessels in trees or in plants. What do we do not have in plants, but we have in animals and in bodies and in humans? Pardon? Well, the brain, you see, this should be very simple for us, but actually the most simple thing become very difficult. Who perceives hunger? Is it the brain or not the brain? That the brain makes the hunger, yes, but is he also perceiving the hunger, or is he just making the hunger? The hunger comes from the center of the brain, yes, the limbic system sends up some chemistry, and that comes up here in the cortex, and in a certain place it makes a reaction, and that is perceived as hunger. Who perceives that? We think the cortex perceives it, but by law, the cortex can perceive nothing. How much can the wires that have the electricity going through perceive anything? Do they? No. So, who perceives? Who perceives? Well, the stomach is not here. Even the stomach perceives nothing. He's like, it's a physical element. There is no perception in anything that is physical. So what must the human being have so that he is able to feel? He must have a spirit or a mind. And I want to give you a few proofs. I want to give you a few proofs. of a spirit or mind. In the human and in the animal, but we take the human.
What about in the divine being?
In the human being.
What about divine?
Pardon?
Angels and God? Would they be included?
Where?
With the human and the animal and being able to feel?
Yes, yes. I think that the angels can feel. Yeah. But I have never seen one yet, so. But everything that can feel must be spiritual. How can we prove that the cell cannot feel, but the spirit can feel? Now, I could prove it only on the law, and I could prove it in the function. So the first thing is, can human being and the animal stop eating? Even though there is food, plenty of it there. Why can they stop eating when there is plenty of food? Why would a young girl with 21 years write to her mother a letter and say, "Mother, I want to die. I do not want to live anymore and I won't eat anymore from now on. Stop eating, so I want to die." Why would she do it? Why would the human being be able, and it's not only the human and the animal, to stop the intake of something you need for your life? Because food is something you need to live. Why would you come and say, "Oh no, I do not want to eat anymore"? So that's an argument, that's an interesting thing. How can you have hunger and another place says, "Oh, you need something, but I don't give it to you"? You see, if the body could satisfy his own needs, would he need to make the feeling of hunger? No. He could just go to eat. But he cannot. Can the plant move to the water? Can the plant move to the water? No. She can just take the water when it is given to her or to it. So it is not possible for any physical thing to satisfy its needs by its own. That's why it just asks for the need to be satisfied. And so the body asks the spirit and says, "Please give me food." And the spirit can say yes or no. And he can say it until the person dies. That's not possible in a plant. A plant, if you put water into it, can she say, "I stop taking it"? No. She has no ability. But a human being can sit in front of a whole big table and say, "I won't eat." Why? I have 4 proofs, and there might be more, that the human and the animal have a spiritual element that is not physical and cannot be explained by any cell or by any cell function. So the first proof is are the spiritual needs. Do we have the need for righteousness? Do we have a need for truth? Do we have a need for liberty? Do we have a need for security? Do we have a need for harmony? Do we have a need for appreciation? Do we have a need for worth? Do we? Yes. There are many needs. We have a need for feeling good. We have a need for the beauty. We have a need for all these things, and I have never been able yet to make a whole list of all the spiritual needs of the human being. Now tell me, is there any place in your cortex where you can say, at this place, the cell knows what is righteousness? Can we search for it? Will we find it? Does any center in your brain is there that it says, oh, I understand this is the center for truth? Can any cell make a decision between truth or lie? Can she? There is no possibility for any cells that have any of these needs. But the needs are there. You see, we have two little cats now at home. My wife convinced me for one cat, and then she brought two. And because they were very little kitten, she said, oh, you know, because I said, look, we are very often gone from home, we're traveling. The poor cats need the human being. But she says, oh, I took both of them so they can have company to each other. So she brought me two. But you see, the cats, they were young, and like every young element, do they have a need of curiosity? Yes or not? I tell you, in cats especially, I've never seen so much curiosity than in cats. When I come home from traveling, they immediately come and look into my suitcase. I open it up and they jump into it. They want to see what's there. They are interested in everything. But you see, they were taking over the whole house. And I said, this cannot be. We must restrict the cats. And since they were young, my wife said, oh, we cannot leave them out. I said, let them go out, they will come back. No, they won't come back, they're too little. So I said, okay, but they cannot go everywhere, jump everywhere. And you know, when they grow, there is nothing too high for a cat. Is there? A cat goes everywhere. And I said, I have to do we have not in the living room, our room where we eat. I said, we give them a room here to live, and so we make a separate, we do a wall, yes? And finally, my wife bought such a wall for, you know. What did the cats do? Did they walk down here, or did they walk on the wall all the time? You see, to the wall, they were not interested in behind, the big place they had behind. They were just interested to get off the wall. What is that for a need? Liberty. And we had it one night, I said, we have to put this to fix this. So we put it, the poor cats, they were going back and forth on that line, trying to jump on it and go out. Didn't work. And then we lay in bed and my wife cannot sleep. And I said, honey, what's going on? Why can you not sleep? She says, the poor cats. They are in jail now. So I said, okay, go. Because they were free before, let them go. Now they are free. You cannot put them into a... Yes, because it's not their need. Do you think in heaven there will be cages? No. Because liberty is a need, but it's only a need for a being that has a mind or a spirit. For a plant, it is no need to be free. Do you think a tree that is 500 years old says to himself, oh, I'm tired to sit at the same place for 500 years? Will he ever say that? No, because he has no need to walk. But a cat and every animal has a need to walk, and that need is in the spirit. He makes the walking of it. So I hope you get that. First proof, there can be no need without a receptor. If you would not need oxygen, you would have no lungs. Would you? No. And you have no receptor for all the cells that needs the oxygen. So if you need righteousness, you need a receptor for righteousness. And you need the one that says, that's righteousness, I'm satisfied. And that receptor is the Spirit. It's the Spirit of man. So, truth must be satisfied. I never met a person in my life that says, I like people when they lie unto me. Do we have any need to be lied unto us? No. Where is that need? Is it in your brain or in your spirit? It's just in your spirit. Your brain has no idea what is truth or lie. It's just impossible. So the needs are the first proof that there must be a spiritual element in the human and in the animal. The second proof is that we are two is the contradiction in the goal. Why would that young girl write to her mother that she wants to die? Why would she want to stop eating and dying? What would be the purpose? What would be the cause? There must be another need there that is higher than food. What is the higher need than food? Love. You know how many people kill themselves because of love? All of them, mostly, probably. So, this case that I shared with you, the boyfriend left the girl. And now she was devastated, and she said, now I have to die because my need for love, and I call all this love, is satisfied or not? Not satisfied. So what was more important for her in life? Food, apples, or boyfriend? Okay. Why is that so? So let's see which needs are more important. They are both needed, but which needs are more important? Are the physical needs that sustain life more important? Is life more important? Or is purpose more important? When they come into conflict, who wins? It's always the purpose, you know that? But purpose is higher than life. When your purpose is not fulfilled, you renounce life. So, what's most important in human being? Life or love? If I would have asked you in a different stage, what is more important in a human being? Love or life? You must have said life. But I tell you, it's not the truth. I never found one human being that I met, and there's none here in this audience, that will have life more important than his spiritual needs. Love is the most important, and we would sacrifice for love our life. And that's in every human being the same. When it comes into a conflict, you choose your purpose always before life. That's very interesting, is it? But the purpose is more than life. If it would be just a physical element, we would say life is all we have, yes? And we would be happy to sit in a jail and get fed and, you know, it's all good, it's secured. We would be happy to just be content with having, you know, no comfort in the house or whatever. But that's not the case. The human being wants to have a purpose, and the purpose is fulfilled by love and by the needs that are there in our spirit. So, in the contradiction, the spiritual needs are first. So there must be a spirit then. If the spiritual needs come before life. We have learned in school that life is the most important. And you might know the story of Job. Know the story of Job? Job? So the devil comes to God and says, everything a man has, he will give for his life. Truth or the lie? Oh, you're good. If I would have not cited it from the Bible or from the devil, you should know that when the devil speaks, does he speak truth or lie? Lie. And God proved in Job that for Job, life was not everything he gave everything for. So everything a man gives for his life is not the truth. Yes, life is important, but it's not the most important. The most important in life is purpose. And if you don't get to the purpose, why do we have so many people depressed today? Why do we have so many people sick in all kinds of sicknesses? Is it because life is not there? No, it's because our spirit is not satisfied with what he needs. He doesn't get what he needs. So I have two other proofs more for tonight. The third proof is that we have a hierarchy. I don't know if that's an English word, but however. Hierarchy, yeah? You know hierarchy? Yeah. Hierarchy, okay, whatever it is. You make it up. You have a hierarchy, okay, you see even. That means that you have a unit that conducts, and you have a unit that obeys. That's a hierarchy. You have someone who conducts, rules, and the other one obeys. Now, in human being, who obeys and who conducts? Does the cell, through feelings, or does the spirit, through thoughts, conduct? Let's prove it. So what is hunger to the spirit? A command or a asking, a bidding, a request? It's a request. So is the spirit obliged to fulfill the need of the body? He can do it if he wants. But if he not, he can say no. How long can he say no? Till the end, till he dies. So everything that comes from the body to the spirit must feel and perceive. But the spirit never needs to obey. He must do it out of his own choice. The spirit can never be forced to eat. How can we prove that? We have people that have been tortured for whatever reason it was. Does the spirit feel the torture? Yes. But does he need to react on the torture and change his mind? We have the examples of people who rather died, but they never changed their mind or never said the secret, even though their nails were taken off, they were burned, they were cut in pieces, they felt all that. Because the spirit feels it, the body doesn't feel anything. And he needs to decide. But he can never be forced into a decision. He must always, by his choice, do what he thinks is right. This is a very good news, you know that? The way the spirit was constructed was that he was never to be able to be ruled by another one. He should always rule himself. Not even your physical needs for life can force you to do it. So, all things that come through the Spirit are just a pledge, are a request, are a asking for something, but it's not an obligation. The Spirit does not need to obey. He can obey. He can say yes, but he must not do it. It must be his choice and reasoning to do it. But how is it with thoughts towards the body? Can the body say, "Oh, Spirit, I don't obey you"? When he gives a command by a thought, can the body say, "No, I have holiday today"? Yes, the nervous system can never say no to the Spirit because it's a place where he gives the command and the nervous systems obey. And you see that in a fear situation. A panic attack or a real danger. makes in the human body the same effect. Because the one is imaginary and the other is real, but the effect is the same, because the nerves have no idea to say, oh, poor spirit, he panics, I don't react. Yes, it's not possible. So that's why the thoughts are commands. So who leads, who conducts the body, the human being? Is the spirit, and who follows, who obeys? The body. So I have the third and the last, and I hope the best proof, is if the spirit transmits a command and by his thoughts the power is made to the nervous system, and that is then transmitted to the nervous system, to the whole body, to every cells, to every organ, then he must come from outside. If he transmits a power, he must come not from the body itself, but from outside of the body. How can I explain this? We in medicine think, and that's why your answer were here, we think the brain is the one that makes the spirit. In the neurology world, they all think that the thoughts come out of the cortex. Since we have so many cells here, and they are all together, they have connections. One cell has 400,000 connections to another cell. So 400,000, imagine, and you have here billions of cells. So they think that the network of the cells make the spirit. So that would say that the body makes the spirit. Because from our evolutionistic viewpoint, we have no spiritual element in us. The spiritual element comes just out of the body and is the result of some unexplainable wires in our cells in the cortex. But that is not possible. By law not, because if the body would make the spirit, who would be on the command? The body would determine when you eat and what to eat. But that the body cannot do. And this is why all energy comes by law from outside, and if the spirit transmits the power to the nervous system, then he must be from outside. He's in connection there with the body, but he's, so to say, outside the body. And I have this proof, this is an energy proof, is what kind of energy or power does the spirit bring to the body. So, what kind of power does the spirit bring to the body? Because he must bring it in. Like the stomach brings in the food to to the blood. What brings the spirit in to the brain? It's electrical power. Yes? So What is the difference between a dead man and a live man? What's the difference? It is the spirit. And how can we prove that the spirit is there or not? By measuring the electricity in the brain. When there is no electricity, the spirit is gone. So the electricity is the life power for the cells. For what is the life power for the spirit? So the spirit brings life power. So life power, yes? So what is the life power for the spirit? It's love. For the body? For the body it is electricity. So it's the same power, it's love, but it transforms into the body into electricity. And we can prove it by one simple thing: the capacity to move or moving is only possible by a spirit. There is no explanation that the human and the animal can move itself if it has no spirit. Because nothing in nature can move itself that is physical. Everything that moves is moved. Only the spirit shows and makes plain that he is there and he moves the body by his commands. You see, how much glucose do you need to give to your brain to make one move? How much glucose do you need to make one move that determines you to say, now I move my finger? Can glucose do that? Can glucose give a command for move? No. You need glucose to move, but glucose cannot move you. So nothing physical can move your finger. It's the spirit that can move it, and when you are dead, he's not there. And then how much can you move? Nothing. Everything in your body comes to the end when there is no electricity in the cortex. So let us make plain. When you move your finger, when you move your legs, who moves it? It's your spirit. It's not your brain. Your brain is just transmitting the power through the nerves, through your fingers, to your legs to move. That's why it's so important to understand the human being has a spirit. And the spirit, since he is only on cortex level, that's why life is just in this place. And the Bible says that when God blew into the nostrils of Adam, when he was just a piece of dust, he became a living soul. So this is the soul. So the soul is the connection of two elements, the spirit and the body, and they work here together. That's the soul. Yes, there is not a third element, like we got from the Greek philosophy. We think that the human being is made of spirit, soul, and body, thinking that the soul is a third entity. But the soul is not a third entity, it's just a third, so to say, it is the sum of both working together. It's like in the computer, you have the software and the hardware, and they work together in the hard drive. Yes? So it is important to understand that we are made out of two elements. And these two elements make a third element of working together. And so it is not spirit, soul, and body, it is body plus spirit makes the soul. Yes? So body plus spirit equals the soul. Pardon? The person, yeah, well, that's who we are. That's how, where the functioning of the body and the spirit meets together. Everything, that's why I say everything happens in the soul. There we feel, there we decide, there we think. It's just this place where we live and act. But still in this place we have a spirit who has his function, and we have the brain cells and the nerves that have their function. And we have down here, below the cortex, we have only body. We have only wires and we have only wires and physical elements. The spiritual element is only on cortex level. That's why we have to look to humanity, to the place everything starts. And we have to see, okay, this is it. Here we need to concentrate because here is life. But you see, if in medicine, do we have a spirit? Does the medical doctor learn anything? He has a term of psyche, but that term of psyche is never explained what it is. And if you don't explain things, you remain in confusion. And they, like I shared with you, the psyche is seen as something that emerged from the body. If it's emerged from the body, then it's the result of the body, then the psyche is not important. It's like the leaves of the tree. Yes, they have a function, but they have not a determinate function. But if the spirit is an entity and it brings power to the nervous system and it is there outside, then you have another way to look to humanity. And since I know today that the main needs of humanity is love and all that is around it, it's clear for me that our diseases come from this missing of this love. And it's clear to me after this almost 12 years that we are made for love's sake, not for eating's sake. We were made for love to exercise. Eating is just a need that needs to be fulfilled to make the love. To exercise it. But that's not a purpose in itself. We don't come to the table and say, now we eat, we fulfill our purpose. Yes? No. We need to eat that we then go out and fulfill our purpose. So, let us understand this simple thing. In human life, and even in animals. I just spoke a few minutes before I came with my wife. And she was gone the whole day. And we have these two cats. And the one cat they have two characters. Why have they two different characters? They have different spirits. They have a little bit a different wired in their spirit, we will see that in the personality. And this one more sensitive cat to my wife, she says, now, look, she comes to me, she was putting herself around my foot, she licked my foot, and now she falls asleep. Why is she doing that? Because of the need of love. I have experiments with animals. Animals have their first need, love, not food. And all those who have animals know that. The first need of every living being that has a spirit is love, because it is run by love. So the spirit, I try to give examples how that works in our head, in our brain. The spirit is the piano player. The piano is the body. The keys of the piano is the cortex. And the spirit plays the piano. So, how much worth is a piano player without a piano? Can he fulfill his function? No, he can be the best piano player. He will never be able to get out one tone because there is no piano. But how much can a piano play itself? You can have it in the house, but will it ever take a tone out of itself? No, there will nothing come out. So this is why we have to understand this is a combination of two elements that needs to work together. Now, there's a question to think for tomorrow night. How do you know the piano player plays well? According to the piano or the player? Think a little bit. When a person comes and says, I can play the piano, how can you test it? On him or on the piano? On the sound of whom? So who proves if he's a piano player? Him or piano? Not both. Only the piano proves if the spirit's skill is good. Now, if 9 out of 10 diseases come from the spirit, who cannot play? The body or the spirit? If 9 out of 10 diseases, 90% of our diseases come from the spirit, from thinking. Who needs to learn to play? The piano or the spirit? The spirit needs to learn to play. I found out in my practice that I need to teach the spirit to play the piano correct. Because the piano cannot change. He is fixed. If you play the right tone, he will have the right answer. And I will share tomorrow night, we'll start with a thing that we have all in our spirit, and that is a deception. The spirit plays the piano wrong because he does not know how to play it correct. But he is convinced he plays correct. So this is why I can help my patients on his body that is never changeable in function. That if I can rule out inheritance, if I can rule out the environment, if I can rule out the chemistry, then I say, now we go to the power. Now we go up there to see where does the wrong input come? What kind of need on spiritual level is not fulfilled that the spirit gets confused, gives a wrong command, and destroys his own support. This is the sad thing on the one side, that we make ourselves sick. But on the other side, it's a very good news. If we understand where the deception is in the spirit, and the spirit corrects it and starts to play the piano well, the body will be recovered, and he can be have again life at his hands, and health at his hands, and not on other hands. Because if you're sick by a determination, if you're sick by what others have done unto you, how much can you change? There is no change that you can do. But if you realize the disease comes because no one explained to you how you need to play the piano correctly, so that the music might sound well, then how can you live? So that was my third element that I found out, that the spirit has a deception. He thinks something is right, what is wrong. But what he thinks is right, what he thinks is right is wrong. And I can hardly explain to him that what he thinks is right is wrong. Can I? But since it's general, I found it in every human being, and it's in all human beings, the same deception, the same wrong that they think is right. It's hardly to explain. But on the sick people, you can explain it. Because you see the piano, response not correct. As long as you have no sickness, the spirit is not convincible that he's wrong. Because you think, oh, yes, I do everything correctly. But we will see that there's something there in our spirit. It's not that we have chosen it, it's inherited. That we think is correct, but is not correct. And I found it out on the body. And that body cannot lie. And disease comes, in the end, from an unknowledge of the spirit to satisfy his spiritual needs. He does not know how it goes. Or the way he knows it goes is the wrong way. It's actually an impossible way. But he speaks all the time of it. And so I could only explain it on the physical damage that does. And now, I mean, we are still building up. But from tomorrow night, we start to get more practical. Yes, but of course, you have to first build up a situation. And so tomorrow night will be important, where we find out on the obvious side what makes us sick. And then we will go deeper into it until we find the root of all evil, so to say. And if we rule that out, then we can expect the body should heal and we should enjoy spiritual freedom and physical health. Thank you.